Welcome to Speech Talk Live. My name is Jay Yoza. This is episode number 43, and I have my co-host Julie Wu Finkelstein joining us. And thank you for watching this. If you're watching this live or if you're watching this on the recording, what we try to do on the show is we talk about public speaking related topics that affect us and affect us on a daily basis. That could be either fear, either just, how do you craft a speech? How do you get through a speech? How do you organize a speech? So we look at a lot of different experts, and also we try to, based on our learning, studying the subject, and we mentor this public speaking course on Coursera called Introduction to Public Speaking. We offer all kinds of tips and techniques. These are tips and techniques that we actually use. So it's our way of doing multiple things. One is that we are very passionate about this subject. We want to learn, we want to teach, we want to coach, and also we want to get better at it. So that's what we try to do. I'm based out of Hazlet, New Jersey. That's about 50 miles from New York. And I do three things. I have a small consulting business where I coach CEOs to increase their sales. The second thing I'm currently working on is writing a book on public speaking. I'm currently on my third draft. I'm trying to get it finished, hopefully by this weekend. And the third thing, obviously, is this show, the Speech Talk Live, and I create a lot of videos to support the community that we're building here. So that's me. And at this point, one of the things that we're doing now is we used to have a 3-minute segment. We're now going to just include that within the introduction. And before I go to my quick some insight that I want to give related to anything, I want to just kind of go over the program today. So we have 3 segments. The first segment is this challenge that I have come up with. And this is for people who complete the course and they want to remain, they want to basically maintain what they've learned and keep on improving. So I've created this challenge but no better name. I'm calling it the ultimate challenge. And it's quite involved. So in fact, I think I might have done that once. But it's something that I just wanted to get it out there to get feedback on what people think, because we'll talk more about that when we get to that segment. The second one is, again, Julie's continuing video that she's been creating regarding her hacks, different poses that she's demonstrating, which are all going to be part of in a book that she's writing about 12 poses or stretches to energize yourself. I don't know if she has come up with a title for the book yet, but maybe we can ask her. And the third one is, again, getting back to this topic on feedback. Again, so today's theme kind of is maintenance. How do you keep on improving, right? These are all about the challenge, about the feedback. So it's part of the maintenance. How do you get that? How do you continue to work on this skill and keep on improving? So at this point, I'm going to talk about something that I just came across recently that I want to share with you, and hopefully I can do it in 90 seconds. So I went to get some sandwiches I think it was last week, and there was a guy, I came out of it was a Wawa. I don't know if you have Wawa where you live. It's like a coffee place. You get sandwiches. Some place have gas stations. It's a gas station that has attached to a mini mart where you can get sandwiches, coffee, or chips or soda, things like that, cigarettes. And as I was coming out, there was a guy standing there, and he noticed that I had sandwiches, and he said, "Sir, can I have some change so I can get some food?" And where I live, we don't have people who ask you for money like that. And I was kind of taken back. I said, that's interesting. This guy suddenly looks like he could be hungry. And I had to think quickly, because otherwise I could have just said no and I could have just left and nothing would have happened. But then, I just realized that something touched my nerve there. And I said, listen, I'll be happy to give you money, but you have to promise me you're not going to use it for cigarettes or anything. And he said he wouldn't, so I gave it the money. As I was leaving, it just occurred to me that I started thinking about it. I said, this guy basically asked, and I gave, right? If he hadn't asked, I would never have given him. And I said the difference between him and somebody who's a salesman is that this guy's always going to ask for change, and he'll always be in that mode where he'll probably be poor or in need of people giving him something. But if he thought differently and said, if I have that same skill, if I could ask for bigger things, then I could be a salesman and I could be rich, or I could even run the world. So the perspective is different, right? The skill is the ask. It's how much you ask. So I just thought that was an insight that I learned by just running into that situation. Julie, why don't you introduce yourself and see if you came up with any recent insight that you'd like to share with us. You're muted. Okay.
Thanks, Jay. I really like this new format, and I'm really grateful for you to being so creative about it. So my name is Julie Wu Finkelstein, and I am I'm supremely interested in using the body and the mind together to cultivate a level of mastery, and in the path of my choice, that's using knowledge, power, and skillful means. So that's who I am. In terms of my message today, what I'd like to talk about is, Jay, you know that you started the hack a message technique that uses it as a public speaking tool, which is quickly say one word, one phrase, one sentence, one elevator speech, one 3-minute speech. So I've converted that to the writing format, which I've shared several with you, which is one word, one phrase, one tagline, one sentence, and then I have a 1-paragraph speech and a 1-page speech. I'm finding that really helpful way to clarify my thoughts. In fact, when I do that, my outlines for my hacker speech becomes very simple. So I just want to acknowledge that this hacker message, there's an elegance to it, there's a creativity, and a way of easing into something that's sometimes very difficult for people to do. So you could work on writing or speaking with one word, one phrase, one sentence, elevator speech or 1 paragraph, 3-minute speech or 1 page. And if you do all those things, it really helps to reorganize your thinking. So that's what I want to share today. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, Julie, that's excellent. I like it. And one thing I should comment on it. I know you like that method and you've been working on it, and I think it's a very good method that that I encourage everybody to use, because you're going to come across like you got your act together, because a lot of times we end up talking too much. And what Julie just said is that the one thing I should point out, and I'll provide a link to, I think we've done some videos on this message hack, and I'll include a video in the description section so you can take a look at it if you're watching this. But the message hack has like a two-purpose, right? One is there are two parts. One is what the message that you want to create, right? And that's what Julie's talking about, where you go from one word to a tagline, logline, a pitch, and a speech, right? So that's total is 3 minutes there, right? The speech is a 3-minute. But also on the other end of it, it allows you to control the conversation better. I mean, you're not going to go to somebody and saying, hey, by the way, let me go through my entire hack with you. It doesn't work like that, right? When you have a conversation, it comes up, where somebody just says, hey, what are you working on? And Julie can say, I'm working on energy hack. Oh, really? That's interesting. So what exactly is that? At that point, the one sentence comes in. Then if that person is more interested, so you kind of, it's a way of having a conversation, a meaningful conversation that has a real nice flow to it, rather than you just keep going on and on and on, because also at the same time, you're kind of gauging, because this is also a way for you to test it, whether what you're saying is resonating. If the person has no interest, if I have no interest in what Julie's doing, energy hack, then at that point, I'm going to stop. At that point, Julie can't come and tell me, oh, but let me I forgot to give you my pitch on the energy hack. You haven't heard my pitch yet. That's I'm saying it's a way for you to test it out, and that's what I like about it. This is not something where you create it, but then how you deploy it is very dynamic. Anyway, so Julie, thanks a lot, and I'm going to take a brief pause, and we'll move into our first segment. Okay, welcome back to Speech Talk Live, episode number 43. My name is Jay Oza, the host of the show, and my co-host is Julie Wu Finkelstein, based out of Connecticut. In this segment, I'm calling this segment Ultimate Challenge. So one of the things that Julie and I do is we mentor this Coursera course called Introduction to Public Speaking. And it's a 10-week course that's pretty much self-contained. It's on an on-demand platform. You can take it. But at some point, and in fact, this makes up part of my book as developing a skills development. So part of my book is how do you become a good speaker? And in that, what I have is the first 3 steps is to become good. And that includes you need a goals video, right? You need your short-term goals and a long-term goals. You got to kind of combine both of them. And then after you record your goals, you move to the actual course. So that becomes step 2. And the course takes about 10 weeks. You don't want to rush through this. This is not like a race or anything. Take your time, 10 weeks. If it takes a little bit longer, that's fine. But you want to finish it no longer than 12 weeks, okay? That's what you're trying to do. You don't want this to start and then never finish it and come back again. Once you start it, you should try to finish it in 10 weeks or 12 weeks. That's it. Then after that, then you do this 330 challenge so that now whatever you learn, you keep doing it over and over again so it turns into a habit. Okay, so now let's say you did all that. So you're now a good speaker. One of the things about speaking is that you have to keep on practicing, right? This is a concept you probably have heard of known as deliberate practice or purposeful practice and all that. So the challenge, this ultimate challenge is more about, like, let's say you want to take it to the next level. Those speeches are 3 minutes, but why don't like we make it into something much larger where there is a real theme around it? So this ultimate challenge is for multiple reasons. Like, I like to read books, but at the same time, I don't want to just read something and then forget about it, right? I want to get more in-depth into it. So this is a way for you to, let's say if you're interested in a particular subject, like in Julie's case, I know she's very deeply interested in all kinds of Eastern philosophy, Eastern practices. And let's say if she picks one item out, maybe Tai Chi or something, and she wants to really go deep into it, she could pick out like 3 books and just, these 3 books, the reason I come up with 3 is because I use this principle that works for me called 60-30-10. And what that is that the first book is essentially to pick the best, the top book will consist of 60%. The second one will give you 30% more information that wasn't covered in the first book. And then the third book will maybe have 10% more. And after that, there might be little tidbits of information, but it's not going to make that much of a difference. Otherwise, you got your priority of books in the wrong way. Okay, so you read the books, but while you're reading it, you start producing content, okay? Because this is the part of your learning, practicing, and all that. So you start writing blogs. So you get your thoughts out of your brain. You're reading, goes into your brain. Now you start having your insights. Things will start happening. And believe me, it will happen. Because when you're reading and you're thinking, you're going to come up with ideas. So something you read, you're going to relate it to something that happened in your life. Suddenly that becomes a blog. And these blogs can be, 500 words, maybe 1,000 words. You don't want to make it too long, okay? So try to keep it around 1,000 words. A little longer in there, that's fine. But 1,000 should be the limit. And keep writing blogs, and you'll be surprised how many blogs you can come up with. And I would say I come up with a number 10 to 25. 25 may be too many, but if you can do between 10 to 15, that's a lot of blogs you're talking about. That's a lot of thought that you have put it in writing as a blog, okay? So that requires some work. That's creative. Then the next step after that is, okay, so now you've got things out of you read it, you thought about it, and you put it in a written form. Blog, you can share it, or you can just keep it to yourself. Then take those blogs and turn them into a speech. Now, I don't tell how to do that, but I have that speech hack that you can use. You already know the subject, you got some idea, put a quick outline together, and just get on a video and record a video. So now you've taken something that was in a written form and you've turned it into, you used it to hack the speech together from the blog. So you're already familiar with the material, okay? So this is not something where you're going to have to write a speech. You can just write a quick outline and use the speech hack method and record a speech. So now you're reading a book, you've written a blog, and now you hacked a speech together. So you keep doing it, and by some point, I would say if you do one book a week, this is going to be a little bit accelerated. This is not something you want to do it for a year. 3 books, if you got 1 month, just focus on it and do it. So you read one book, you start writing blogs, so there's a loop going on, right? There is like an iterative process that's taking place here. At some point, you're going to finish the book. Now you're going to have lots of content already created. You're going to have lots of blogs, maybe 10 to 15 blogs, and you're going to have close to 10, at least 10 short videos between 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so now what do you do after that? So let's say you did this in the first 3 weeks. 4th week is where you start stitching these things together. So now you're saying, okay, I want to create, the thing I'm focusing on is 2 speeches, okay? Now you can do anything you want, but you can, create short speeches you already have. So you've got a lot of things to discuss with people, okay? This is going to make you smarter, much more interesting. But the 2 final deliverable is for this exercise is, I call it TED and Google, okay? TED Talk and a Google Talk. So one speech, you make it between 15 to 18 minutes. That's typically the length of a TED Talk. And the second one is a little bit more involved. This will be close to 40 to 45 minutes, or maybe even 50 minutes, and then 10 minutes of Q&A. So now you've got this TED Talk speech and a Google Talk speech, and you record it and you put it on. And it shouldn't be that difficult because you already have multiple of these videos already done. Now you just have to figure out, how do I put it together around some kind of a common theme? And you do that. And the final step is, if you're interested, is because now you're going to have these videos on YouTube, people can go to it and try to promote it, right? And if people might be interested in saying, hey, I would like you to come and give a speech. And if they want you to give a speech, you already have done it. And it shouldn't be that difficult. And even if you don't give a speech to a live audience, let me tell you, you're going to be much smarter. You're going to be much more interesting. So if you're ever in a point where you're having a conversation, people are going to view you as like, wow, that person, he really knows that subject well. And let me tell you, when you know a subject well, people notice. So I have an interest in doing it. So I just created this challenge around it. So there's some methodology behind it, rather than just read books and do nothing with it. So this is work, okay? But if you're going to spend time reading books, create some kind of a challenge around it so that you can use all this content and turn it into something, and you don't know what can result from it. So that's what this whole ultimate challenge is all about. And I don't know, maybe there should be a different name, but this is something that I hope to do once my book is completed. I already have identified 3 books that I'm going to read and go through this exercise and then record all my videos and make them available to people if they're interested in taking a similar type of challenge. Julie, what do you think of it? What do you think of this challenge? Are you going to take it?
Excellent, Jay. It sounds very daunting, so I will do it when you will do it, maybe. But I did have let me just say I do have 3 books put out, and so it's entirely possible that I'll do it. Maybe you can bring up the topic again next week. What I really like is, I thought this was great, Jay. I think this is you have 8 steps, at least the way I wrote it up. One is making the commitment to do it. 2 is picking out a subject that's narrow, not too wide. 3 is pick 3 books and read. 4 is start to write blogs. 5 is create a 3 to 5 minute video. I think you might want to add a hack when you do the 3 to 5 minute video using the hack technique, because that's really helpful. 6 is 10 to 20 minute TED Talk. 7 is a 40 to 50 minute Google Talk. And I like that, because to me, Google was always like the place for smart nerds to go deep. So that's kind of like my tagline for Google Talks. And then finally, looking for places to publish, publicize, and volunteer to be speaking on the topic. I think you have a course there. You really have a nice curriculum.
Yeah, I think so. That's why I wanted to kind of discuss it, because this could turn into like an advanced, like if somebody wants to take a, like if they want to learn this along, rather than going through a course, which is kind of dry, this would be more kind of dynamic, where we could all be doing it like, kind of, what do you, like, not like a workshop, what would you call it, where we're all doing it together? And it could be more of like an advanced course where you're learning, and also at the same time you are doing a lot of other things besides just reading.
I would call it a participatory course. And I think if you start with the blogs, like steps 4 and 5, start with the blogs and then create a 3 to 2 minute speech using the hack technique, that could be your entry level program. And that might be easier for people to do than going through the 10 weeks of Professor M's class. In fact, this could be, this could be the entry path, the easy entry into it. And then when you want to get better, Professor M's is the middle path. And then the TED Talk, to the publish and publicize will be the advanced class. So you could do an entry-level class like pre-Professor M, and then use Professor M, and you can facilitate that for your medium level, intermediate level, and then the TED, Google, and speak out loud or speak in public could be the advanced module. So you will have 3 modules for the advanced. I would suggest you create three modules for the intermediate, which is write the blog using the message hack technique, speak at the blog using the hack message technique, get some feedback, and do some 3 minutes using the message hack. My own, so I just, let me see how much time we have. 10, So
let's try to wrap this up in another
couple minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just thought that your speech was great. I thought the content was great, and I thought that you're really, as I mentioned, I think that your gift or your talent or your special expertise is really engineering a very fluid process. And I think once engineered, it becomes available to people as a practice form. Like Tai Chi. Tai Chi is like infinite, right? But when they do the form, they're just doing the form. But they're learning all the infinite stuff, but there's a place for them to learn it step by step. And I think that you've done that with this. It's the beginning of something really nice. So that's my feedback.
All right, Julie. Thanks a lot. Can you mute your line? I'm hearing feedback.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, no, thanks a lot. Yeah, so this is something that I definitely would like to do. And I think you're right. I think we have to figure out whether there is a beginner's version because I think some of the things that I'm recommending in this, like doing a TED Talk, there are a lot of hacks that I don't talk about in this challenge. So this was kind of put together. Now that we did this, you made me think that one thing to do is just read one book. Like, let's say if somebody's starting out a course, rather than 3 books is a little bit, like you said, daunting. Okay, so this ultimate challenge is very advanced, by the way. There's so many things, moving parts here. So many things that are involved here. First of all, a lot of people out there who may take this may not want to write. Okay, so you're assuming that they have writing skills and they really enjoy writing. So if they don't enjoy writing, then they're out. They can't do this, right? The second thing is, if somebody's just taking this and they haven't even given any speeches, they're not going to have it. It's going to be difficult for them to do a 3 to 5 minute video. So I would say that this would have to be simplified. And first would be like a starter challenge. The beginner one would be just to take one book and work on that. And then if somebody wants to move to the if they've taken the course and they want to move to an advanced level, then 3-book would be a way to do it. But this is like the kind of like the full Monty, if there is a word like that, the full Monty challenge, I guess, where you basically are taking 3 books. First of all, okay, that's another thing we didn't talk about. A lot of people don't even like reading books, okay? They can't finish a book. So this is like an ultimate skill. You bring 3 skills together: reading, writing, speaking, and performing. I mean, maybe 4. So there's a lot of skills that come. So this would be a very advanced course if we ever decide to do it with a bunch of students who are really want to take it. So we got to keep this in mind. So we got to, anyway, I think I got some very good feedback. Unless you have any other comments, I'm going to pause and we'll start. Okay, thanks a lot. So at this point, I'm going to take a brief pause and introduce the next segment. So thank you for watching. Okay, welcome back to Speech Talk Live, episode number 43. My name is Jay Oza. I'm the host of the show, and my co-host is Julie Vu Finkelstein. In this second segment, we're going to continue the series that Julie has started about several episodes ago, where what she's doing is she's currently writing a book about some of the fundamental stretches that anybody can use that can energize themselves. You know, when it comes to these stretching, there's so many of them out there, and after a while, you feel like you have to be so supple. And all these people that do it, they look so great. And I think what Julie's trying to do is that these poses, you don't have to be, you know, somebody with somebody young. Anybody can use these poses that she's demonstrating and can energize yourself. So you could be young, old, anybody, men, female, you know, even some medical problems, depending on what kind of poses you use. So what she has done is she's been taking one pose at a time and recording a video. And this particular stretch, I think it's a downward dog that she's demonstrating. So she's doing multiple things. So what she's doing is she's using this video to show the pose, but also it's also part of her way of communicating this. So there's multiple things she's trying to do in this video. So rather than me talk about it, I think I'm going to turn it over to Julie and let her describe the video, what she's trying to accomplish and where she is with these poses, and then what kind of feedback, whether she wants me to tell her how great she was or whether she wants me to focus on what she can do better. And that's something we're going to talk about in the next segment. So this one, I'll leave it up to her. So Julie, why don't you take it over and describe this? And by the way, thanks for sending the video to discuss this. And I appreciate the work that you're doing and helping people on how to create these type of, I call them show and tell video, that a lot of people out there could do depending on specific things that they are, you know, passionate about like you are. Okay, take it over.
Okay, thanks, Jay. So first of all, I'll talk about the pose. I'll take about 3 minutes or so to talk about the pose, and then I'll take a couple minutes to talk about my speech goals. And the third one is I would like some needs, how I can improve it, feedback. So thank you, Jay, and that's based on your forthcoming video. So the downward dog as a pose is it's a strengthening pose and a balancing pose. The idea of these, what I'm calling it, integral stretches or poses or easy poses, and they're very simple yoga poses. And as I have talked in the past, these poses are designed by my bodywork teacher that I studied with for about 10 years, Everett Ogawa, and he has this website called Integral Bodywork, and you can take lessons and blogs from him. The first 3 poses, the centering pose, the forward bend, the straddle, the sitting straddle, and the lunge, really what's doing is opening up the spine. But what's really holding up the spine is this muscle system called the psoas. Usually it's called the psoas muscle, but the psoas muscle is actually a system. It's about the size of your arm. So when you eat a tenderloin, that's what you're eating, okay? And the muscles go down into the leg and go up all the way up to your shoulder blades. That's where your thoracic muscle is, and it attaches like an Eiffel Tower. Okay, and then on top of that, there's another gigantic triangle muscle called the trapezius that holds the shoulder together. So the psoas muscle is actually the hinging point that moves your upper body and links your lower body, and it's also the strengthening because it holds your whole skeletal structure together. So heaven open up from the inside, the psoas, and the triangle opening outside. The body is kind of like an elastic, all stretched up and warmed up. So finally, this pose is balancing out all the new possibilities because all your four limbs are on the floor. And really what you want to do is, first of all, make sure that the energy that's going through the gravity center goes through in a way, and the goal here is actually find what Ida Rolf calls the line. I like to call it the zero gravity line. There is always a line that there is zero gravity for you to hold that position. So if you're rafting and everything's up and down, there is always a zero gravity line that you can navigate. Similarly, when we're moving our body, there's always a zero gravity line. So the downward pose helps us to use the muscles, first of all, to hold ourselves up. And then when we find that line, we can relax the muscles and let gravity support us. And the intelligence, we always talk about the body is naturally self-evolving and intelligence. Every cell has intelligence. So every cell is participating in this cosmic dance of where we are in the universe, relationship to gravity. Once you find that, and that might take a long time, is then the tailbone, because it's sticking up, you are really channeling energy. In the Chinese, it's called heaven and earth energy. The tailbone usually takes energy from earth. You're channeling energy from heaven through the tailbone. So it reverses the direction of the flow. So the downward dog, while it looks very stationary, it's actually a very dynamic pose. And if you cannot do the downward dog, you can do the cat and dog, and it will further create this flexibility in the spine. And it's continually educating what's possible for zero gravity because you're kneeling on your knees. And so it's not as stressful. In fact, that's a very good place to start. In terms of the speech, I am using the hack method. My goal of that is I think that it helps me. My challenge in life is I have huge ideas, and they're always all big. And most people say, that's a great idea, but what do you really mean? So using your hack technique, I'm trying to concentrate and organize my ideas so that people who don't have to be in my head to get what I'm trying to say. And I think that the continuation of speaking here, doing the videos, as you know, I've been trying pretty diligent about it. I think something's opening up. And so I would definitely like feedback. And at this point, I'll let you give me feedback. Thank you.
Yeah. So let me just compliment you on it. I'm noticing, incrementally, I am seeing improvement. And the main thing I'm seeing is that you look much more comfortable when you're doing these videos now.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's because of the subject that you're familiar with, but at times when I've seen you give speeches, you just didn't look comfortable. I guess this is your element. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that you made an improvement. But when it comes to these videos, I just noticed that comfort level, like you're in control of your topic, and you know exactly how you want to present it. And because that's actually a very important point that I want to just emphasize on. It's something, I think I recorded a video where in the beginning, I come on the video and I don't say anything for the first 5-6 seconds. And the reason for that is that if you don't look comfortable right from the because remember, when you're speaking, you have to be comfortable right from the beginning till the end, because the audience can notice the difference. So if you're not giving them comfortable feeling, then they're going to get uneasy and not focus on the content. They're going to focus more on noticing you, like, oh, that Julie, does she really want to be there? So when I see these videos, I notice that you want to be there. You want to communicate these poses to people. Okay, so that's a very big thing that's important to note, that before any speech you give, you got to psych yourself out and saying, I want to give this speech. I have something to say, and I'm going to say it. Sort of like what Amy Cuddy does, right? And it doesn't hurt to say that. I think we all need to do that. This is not something that if you're going to get in front of people, you got to have a purpose. What is your purpose? And make sure and that's where your message hack really looks like it's helping you focus on knowing what your purpose is, what the message that you want to convey. Okay, so I think that all those things are really, the only thing I'll comment on it is that as far as the improvement is, and this is more about, I don't know whether it's an improvement or it's just a choice that you're making. It's just that before you get into the pose, right? Mm-hmm. Take your time. You don't need to just go right into the pose. I'm not sure you're doing that, but I'm just saying, get the audience to like anticipate what's going to come rather than just say, now let me show you the pose. I'm not sure you're doing that, but I'm just saying, take your time and just give them a little bit of a setup. Like, so up to this point, we have covered all these poses. And before I show it, let me just give you a little bit of a description of what this downward dog is. And, you can use your hand gestures and kind of let the people know what you're going to show them. And then you can say, well, as we discussed earlier, this is the part that I was telling you about where, and then, so what I'm saying is that people, it's again back to your technique, your sandwich technique. Let them know what exactly are you going to show them and why you're showing this pose, why this pose is so important to them. I think you can spend some time in the beginning just kind of doing that. It may make your video a little longer, but I don't think it'll hurt you, because I think people want to know more about this pose rather than, hey, here's the pose, but what does it really do for me? And if you can use some examples like, if you're feeling some backache and this and that, when to do it, when would be appropriate time to do it. If you do all together, that's fine. But sometimes you don't have time. Here's how you would do it. And what are some of the risk factors you should watch out for? And then after you do demonstrate the pose, so then there's a context, right? There's a context that I already discussed. We discussed earlier. Here's the part that I was telling you about, so that people feel like, oh, I get it. And then when you're done, so you can then sum it up and saying, so as you saw that this is the pose that we did, and sum it up what you think is appropriate. If there's anything that you couldn't go into, and what the people should do after that. And that's it. The one other thing I'll point out to you is, not that there's much you can do about it, but if you're going to do these videos as part of your course, the one thing I suggest that you may want to look into getting, and I'm sure you've seen it, those doctors have that skeleton thing in their office?
Yes. If
you can borrow it, or if I don't know how much they cost, but if you know somebody in the medical profession who has that, if you're doing the video, ask them if you can borrow it, because when you're showing because what you're showing, it's very important to see what it show, because the body, the curvature and all that, it's very important, because like right now you're using your hand, and that's fine. But I think if you had that skeleton, it would be much easier for people to follow what the pose is actually doing to their different backbone or the spine, etc. So I'm just saying that you have those stick figures, but if you're going to do a video, you may want to borrow that from somebody, rent it out if there's a place like that you can rent out a skeleton, and just do those poses with that skeleton, and people can follow what's going on. But overall, I'm seeing a big improvement, and I think overall, I think you pretty much have gotten it now. Now it's just a matter of technical issues, and that's something that's kind of outside the scope of this video, because we're just focusing on the content and how to deliver the content. So I think you have pretty much gotten it. This was your 5th video, so I think I'm really looking forward to more. And I just think that this is the kind of topic where you really excel at. You like to show people. All I'm saying is that before you get into that show mode, spend more time telling them in advance, And then after you show them, and do it in a way that is deliberate, slowly. Just take your time, take your time. You don't have to rush through the pose. And if there's something you cannot do, just let them know that I'm not going to go into the details of this pose. There's a course that I'm going to be working on that'll have more detail, but I just want to kind of give you a flavor of what I'm talking about, like that.
Okay, well, I think what I like to do, not right now, maybe the second round, is have you coach me as I do one.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, so we can do that. Like if the next one you want to write up a script for the next video, if you have not recorded it, the message hack, and just send it the message hack for the next video to me, and I'll give you some tip on what's the good way to start it. Then you can go into the demonstration mode, and then how to conclude that particular pose. So that way you have a pretty much a formula on how to do each one. Because once you get one of them, each one will be different. Of course, there are going to be unique things for each of the poses that you're demonstrating. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can help you out with that. But overall, yeah, this was excellent. This was excellent, and I think you're learning a lot. I mean, are you seeing an improvement, or am I the only one seeing it?
No. I wrote. No. I definitely seeing. That's what I was trying to say. That something feels like, you know how in the mythical man month it talks about something happens, and then after some time the baby comes out. But you can't open up the stomach and look at the baby, right? Because then you kill the baby. So I think there's a baby coming out that's a little bit more organized and more dynamic. Even as I'm talking here, I can feel there's more energy coming out of my voice, right? And my body languages are not like that, which was how it was in the beginning. It's more punctuated. So I do think that, and I honestly, Jay, as you well know, we both feel like we could not have done it without each other. So which is why you think having a buddy is so important. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, that's one of the. Oh, you have to mute it. I'm having feedback.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm going to make a video on, and I do discuss this, by the way, in my book when I talk about the Coursera course. And in fact, if you notice it, I mentioned in the video for the Ultimate Challenge that if you really want to succeed, you need a buddy who's motivated as you are. Otherwise, don't ask your wife; she's not going to do it, or your husband. They're not the ones to ask. You got to find somebody who has real motivation in doing it. The one thing I will mention to you that I've noticed the difference, that maybe this is the thing that the difference that I'm noticing is that you're not trying to rush through your speech. And one thing you may want to also, I think you're doing it, but start taking more pauses, because the silence that you use when you're speaking makes you look like you're under control, as long as you know what you're doing. You don't want to silence for the sake of like, oh my God, I lost my thought, as it happened to Winston Churchill when he was giving a talk when he was 29 years old. He gets to at the 40-minute mark and he completely blanks out. That's not the silence we're talking about. This is a silence where you just made a point. You just take a brief pause. Just take a brief pause, because what that does, I've noticed, I'm working on that because I don't do it well. And one of the things that I just recorded a video is that you should be able to show people that you're comfortable without using your voice. What we do sometimes is we use our voice as a way of, it's a part of a nervous habit. Like one of the habits that I have, I tend to use okay a lot when I'm speaking. Okay, that's not good. I got to get rid of that. And the other one, which is also something that I tend to use a lot, is right. Like I'll make a point and I'll say right. It's one of those things I have to somehow get over it. And one of the ways I'm trying to get over it is by just, instead of saying right, I should just take a pause. I don't need to say right. So next time when you do a video, in the beginning, you may want to actually write it down. Take a pause here, take a pause here, just like if you were acting. And then after a while, once you get into the flow of things, it'll become natural that, okay, here's where I need to take a pause. Here's the important point that I'm making. Because I think that that's an advanced thing that nobody really teaches you. Because one of the things that we do is, like when we are writing, we know exactly where to put the punctuation marks. But when we are speaking, we don't have real punctuation marks. It's how we control our tonality, our pauses, that is communicating information to people. And that has to be learned the hard way by doing it. So I think that keep working on that. I think you're doing it, but just be conscious of it when you do your first hack, that I'm going to make a point and I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to slow it down, because because remember, these poses are to feel good, and you don't want to use your voice to make people nervous. Not saying you're doing that, but the voice should communicate the benefit, the way you're. So I think you did that really well, actually, when you're saying, so now I'm going to lie down. And I think you got that pat. If you could take the way you're using your voice when you're showing the poses and take that same way you're using your voice when you're giving a speech, then I think you will have it nailed. Just watch your video when you're talking, as you're doing the poses. Take that, the way you talk when you're doing the poses, when you're demonstrating the poses, and bring it in your speech. If it's when you're not showing any poses, that's what you want to do all the time. Does that make sense? Okay. So if you don't have any comment, I'll just move on to the next segment. All right. So we'll take a brief pause and we'll move into our third segment. Okay, welcome back to Speech Talk Live. This is episode number 43. My name is Jay Oza. I'm the host of the show, and I have my co-host, Julie Wu Finkelstein. And in this third segment, we're going to get back to a topic that we have already covered in the past, but there's something different in this one that I've noticed that I wanted to discuss. And the topic is feedback. Now, feedback's very important. You know, as you just saw, if you saw segment 2, Julie asked for my feedback, and I gave her feedback. I was primarily focusing on what I think she should improve. So what I'm talking about here is that, let's say you, like Julie right now only has me. Unless there was another person, then she would have 2 people giving her feedback. But what I'm saying in this video with feedback is that if you want a good feedback, you determine what you want the other person to tell you. Don't tell them to give you too many things. So if you're the kind of person who's, like in my case, I've already gotten to a certain point where I'm more interested in what I can improve, that's what I will ask them. But if you want to know what you've done well, so you can ask one person just one thing. I just want you to focus on all the things that you think that I did that were effective. That's it. So now that person is just focusing only on that. And you already set his mindset. I want you to just focus on this. What happens often is that when you don't give that type of direction or instruction, people will naturally focus on things that they think that you could do better. They'll focus on things that you could have done better. And then at the end, they'll add in, oh, but you know, you did this, you did this. No, just focus on one thing. You should do your own evaluation to know what you did well and what you could have improved on. So you already have that. But when you're asking people for feedback, make their life easier. Just give them one set of instruction for one person, another for another. So if I had, like, let's say if there was another person and I had given a speech, I would say, Julie, I want you to focus on, based on her skill set, okay? Because she's very good at, because I know what she can do. I would just tell her to focus on things that I could improve. And I don't need to worry about, like she can say, overall, I liked it. Highlight, I liked it, but here are the things I want to focus on. That's fine. But I don't want her to give me 3 lists on, these are the things I think you did well. I don't want that feedback from her. And then the other person, I could say, I don't want to find out what I can improve. Tell me the things that you thought really worked well. That's it. Now, at some point, you're not going to have 2 people who can give you that kind of feedback. And if you just have one, then focus on the one on the improvement part. And the part that you did well, you can do that yourself. And if you are just doing your self-evaluation, you want to start with the part that will help you improve more, because that's the part, because everybody likes to get positive feedback, right? But if you are trying to improve, then that's what you want first. If somebody out there is nervous, is starting out, then definitely they need that encouragement. But this is somebody like Julie and I have been doing this now for some time. We know where we are with our speaking skills. We're trying to improve. So that's what you want to lead with. So this is something that I thought was kind of important to discuss, because feedback is very important. And once you reach a certain level, you should be able to determine what kind of feedback you want and how it's going to help you. There's no point in getting a feedback if it's not going to make you better. I mean, and not saying that that the person has to nitpick and this and that. That's not the purpose of a feedback. Purpose of a feedback is to make you think, is there something that you missed that the other person, that you could have missed that the other person didn't? That's what it is. And just because somebody's giving, you got to give the other person a permission to give you feedback. That's another important part. And that person may pick certain things. Like I said, I always like to use the 60-30-10 principle, right? The first feedback has to be the main thing. And then if there's a minor tidbit like, oh, Jay, I noticed that you have a tendency to use right after you make a point, I wouldn't put that as a 60% feedback. That's not, I mean, for improvement, that would be like maybe 10%. So you got to be very careful that you follow it in an order. The first one is the most important. The second one is second important. The third one, and after third, then you're just nitpicking. So I think feedback is very important, and I'd like Julie to, Julie, what are your thoughts on having person just focus on one aspect of the feedback and not suddenly give you both positive, I'm using this loosely, positive and negative. It's hard to switch back and forth like that. If you want a feedback, just tell them, you positive, you tell me all the things I can improve. Okay, Julie, go ahead.
Okay, Jay, I'm going to just take a minute because I want to try to fit into our time. So I just thought that this was, again, another great speech, and I think I call it the divide and conquer or specialize and segment approach. And you're right, one person is can focus on one thing really well. So Adam Grant talks about in his book, in the originals, about getting really useful feedback. He says it's good to get feedback from friends. It's kind of good to get feedback from your friends because your friends are supportive, and also, but it's really, really good to get feedback from what I call the noble critic, someone who has who might not like you, who might not like your ideas, but has a level of integrity, and you can engage in a level of conversation because you can use him to really strengthen your argument. And also, if he supports you, he will be your best supporter. And then Adam Grant says, look out for your frenemies, people who are nice to you in front, but then behind your back slash you. And I think that what you're talking about, feedback, fits into that context, which is really great. So thank you.
Okay, Julie, thanks a lot. And at this point, I think I don't have anything more to add. I just wanted to kind of bring that up just so that people understand that as you're getting better, you also have to get better at giving feedback and also receiving feedback. So if you're the one who's recording speeches, it's not just enough to just record your speeches and just leave it out there. You also have to control the part about the improvement part. And that means that you want to make sure that you control the feedback process, and you have to give some thought to that. So Julie, thanks a lot for your feedback. And at this point, I think any closing comments on the show today, or we're pretty much try to wrap it up?
I just think your ideas are becoming really great, and your engineering approach really helps me to take some of my fuzzy ideas and becoming more organized. So I just want to thank you for such a great program today. Thank you.
Right. Let me ask you a question. So now that this is our 43rd episode, when you talk to people like your friend circle, like what kind of feedback are they giving you? Not like you're asking them like, hey, here's my speech, take a look at the video. I mean, when you are talking to them and discussing different topics and stuff, like have you have you noticed anything different in the conversation that you're having with the people, outside this show? Like is this helping you when you're talking to people like your friend circle, or people that you in this place where you go to, different activities that you participate in? How is this manifesting itself when it comes to where the rubber meets the road, sort of, if I may use that phrase?
Sure. I think it merits our program. Maybe we can do a segment on that next week.
Okay.
I think that it's helped me in a lot of ways. So just as one quick example, I am a beta tester for the Coursera program in effective speaking of English for foreigners or something like that. And I was very upset with some of the implementation methodologies. So I used the sandwich technique to craft an email, making a major suggestion, which is to implement a QA function. I got 2 staffers to respond to me. Now, I don't know that they'll do a QA function, but I think I was crafting a much more powerful message. So that I think this class is not our work is not the only thing, but it's certainly a major factor, since I get to practice a lot of these things. But I suggest we talk about it next week or sometime.
All right.
So
yes.
Oh,
I'm hearing feedback. Okay. Can you get your line?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting feedback. I guess because you're not wearing a headset. Is that the reason? Okay. The 2 things I definitely would like to do next Wednesday's show is, one is to review the goals that we did. I think on the first week of the year, we did a goals video, and I'd like to review that. So I'm going to send a link to that, and you and I can both review that. And the second one is, I think you and I, unless you can have another post to review, then we can include that in the segment. And the other third segment is, okay, how are you taking what we're doing outside this course? Like, how are you using this in interacting with people, in going out and giving a speech? And I think that's something that you and I should both discuss. So one is like what we have done up this point regarding the goals that we set up in the beginning of the year. And the third segment could be, okay, now that you are recording the speech and all that, what kind of difference are you seeing when you're talking to people? And I think that would be kind of interesting for people to see, because otherwise you just don't want to keep on exercising. At some point you have to see the results in the real life situations. So how does that sound? Good?
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, then we'll close it out. So let me thank all the people. So let me thank Julie. Without her, this show couldn't go on. So I want to thank her for all her hard work and feedback. And she's pretty tough, but that's what this is. When you want to, she's a great buddy, and that's what I recommend you all do. That if you want to learn a particular topic, find somebody who is committed, who's focused, dedicated, and work together. And part of what we do here is we are helping ourselves, but in the process, we're helping you. So I always like to say, and I don't know, maybe I should change this, because one thing I always end up is like, you are how you speak. I should say that your brand is really how you speak, right? Because you may be good looking, you may smell good, but if you don't speak good, I was telling my dad, and he liked this example. Like if you watch a beauty contest, right? The part that I like about a beauty contest is the last part where you're down to 5 contestants. And at that point, the beauty is not going to help them win the contest. It comes down to that 90-second answer. And the contestant who gives the best answer is going to be crowned the most Miss America or Miss Universe. And it's not the beauty that won her the contest. It's that question, how she answered that question. So think about that. That if you don't answer that question well, you don't have to be beautiful. But if you don't answer that question well, you could be beautiful and not win the contest. So anyway, it was a little insight I should have saved for my 90-second, but I'll use it at the end. So Julie, thank you very much. And again, keep practicing. keep doing it, you control this, and you will get better. And we'll see you next week for episode number 44. So thank you. Okay, Julie, do we have anything to wrap up, or we're pretty much done? Because I think we already covered what we want to talk about and next week you're going to send me the time that works on Wednesday.
Yes, that's great. Do you want to take about 5-10 minutes? Because
oh yeah, sure. I thought you were in a hurry. That's why I was trying to.
I just need to go to the washroom, and I'll be. All
right, why don't you do that? Yeah, sure.
Sorry, you can cut this part out, right?
Yeah, this part doesn't go in the public.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So let's. So next week we can either start. I'll send you an email because I don't want to. I want to be chaotic now rather than later. So it'll either be like 10 or 10:30. So we're going to do the speech first, right?
Mm.
And then we'll do the
mastermind session.
Mastermind, I like that. The mastermind session. Okay. So in the segment you want to do.
So let's do this. So basically, if we can start at 10:30 and wrap it up by 12.
10:30.
10:30 to 11:30. We'll just do the. 12 is like when we should try to wrap it up, unless there's something important that we still need to cover. But if you can try to keep it like 10:30 to 11:30, the speech talk live.
Yes.
And then 11:30, and then take maybe a 5-minute break, and then just the next half hour is the mastermind session.
Would that work for you?
Yeah, sure. And then, like I said, if something important is to be discussed, then I can stay on for a little longer. So this way, at least I have a schedule that from 10:30 to 12, it's blocked.
10 to 11. 10 to 11. 10 to 11 works.
Okay, so start at 10.
Yeah, 10 to 11, and then 11 to 11:30.
Okay.
And then if we need to go to 11:45.
Yeah, then because that mastermind is kind of doesn't have to fit into a particular time frame. So that way we can keep the show for an hour. And I think like now that we got rid of the 3-minute segment, I think it'll help. In fact, the 90-second is kind of optional. That's if you have some insight you want to share. You don't have to. Okay. Right. So if you think like I got something quickly that I put together and it'll only take 90 seconds, it's a good way to practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because some of those 3-minute segments, were getting too long.
To 90 seconds though.
I'm sorry?
I think I kept mine to 90 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not timing. Just practice it.
Oh,
and if you want to. Yeah.
I was timing.
Oh, okay. I didn't time myself. I think mine probably went over, but anyway.
Oh, no, that's okay. My only suggestion is, Jay, is that I noticed that you like to give feedback, and then when I respond to your feedback, it's when you get really enthusiastic.
Oh.
And give me more feedback. So, and that's what's taking the longer time. So I'm wondering if you want me to give feedback first, and then you give feedback later, so that way you can control the time better. Yeah.
See, what's happening is See, that's the part that it's hard to control, because suddenly when you say something,
it triggers.
It's allowing me to think, and I'm kind of thinking. I usually because you see, here's the thing: if I want this show to be so scripted, where you give feedback and I'd say, oh, Julie, that's a great point, let's just end it there, then I could end it right on time. But then suddenly you trigger something and I'm like, oh, wait, I don't want to miss it, because there's something important here that if I miss it, I'm not going to be able to come back. So I have a dilemma there. Like, do I just honor the timing that try to be faithful to the time, or do I be faithful to the content as some things are coming up and make it much more dynamic? It may not make it interesting for people to watch it but that's the thing, our show is not scripted, right? It's unscripted.
Yeah, we can talk about this. It's your show, so ultimately it's what you want.
No, it's not a matter of my show. The question is that's
I still feel like I need to give you my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that there's a certain professionalism and discipline in being able to track time.
Right.
And I think that I like your style, and actually I was really listening. It's just second, so you introduce the show, I give the feedback, and then you say something, and then you ask me to close up, and that's when you really get excited. So I'm wondering if there's a way we can, maybe you can give a shorter intro,
Okay.
and then I give a shorter feedback, and then you give a feedback, and then I give some response, and then you have plenty of time to.
Right. I think the best way to do that is that 60-30-10. So don't give more. It's like, this is the main feedback, and here are the second feedback, and then don't go more than 3.
Okay.
So that way I'm following some sort, like you said, that otherwise the timing is basically becoming uneven. Certain one point I'm kind of going off on the tangent, and what that's doing is that at some point require that discipline to say, okay, this is the point, like they do in the television, right? Where time is very important because they have to sell commercials.
Right.
So what you're saying is that make your point, but if you want to go into too much of a detail, then create a separate segment from that.
I'm not sure what the answer is.
But I think what the point you're making is that if you want to try to fit this show in an hour, right now it's kind of loosely structured, where if we don't really enforce any kind of time, we just keep talking, and at some point we say, okay, I think we've talked enough. But what I think the point that I'm understand what you're saying is at some point we need to try to get it kind of limited within the time frame. And it might also be a good way, because it's a good way to practice, because if you're talking to people, this is a way to find out, right, that you don't want to, the time is limited, and you need to practice that skill on how to make your point in the limited time. We're all time constrained, and you've got to be able to make your point in that limited time that you have. Otherwise, the next time the person's going to say, oh, I better skip that person. He's going to just take up too much of my time.
Exactly. And then sometimes your antidotes are very useful, but they're not germane to the core point.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes I just then say, oh, I just thought of this thing. Let me just bring it up right now. And you're saying that it would not be, it's okay, but that's what we should try to avoid, because what that's doing is that we're not sticking to the message, the main idea of what we want to discuss. And if you're going to discuss it, in some cases, you may have to be a little scripted.
Yeah, and I don't mean it that just you, because that's what what I was saying about your engineering approach is it's helping me to hone my inability to focus, right? Because I have a bigger problem with focus than you do. So
I think what you're saying is that if you're facilitating a session, then the burden is on the person who's facilitating it to make sure that it remains around that particular. I think that's the main point you're making, that if you have to tell me, then I'm not being, like, for example, that ultimate challenge was something that I was facilitating. So then just stick to that and just focus only on that. Now, you might say something different. What you're saying is that ultimate challenge was something that I'm facilitating. But then you made because remember, I'm asking your feedback. Your feedback could be anything, right? It could be towards that, or it could be some off topic. But my job is to remain on topic. That's what you're saying. That if you're
on topic and remain on time.
Right. So my job is on topic, on time, whereas the person that is giving the feedback doesn't have to. It's the person who's facilitating has to monitor that, being on topic. And
I'm managing your time, right? When I say at the end.
And that's not what you should be doing.
That puts me in a bad position. It makes me look bossy. right?
Right. So what you're saying is the person who's facilitating it has to be on topic, on time, but
Right.
not the person who's giving you feedback. Because you could say anything, but then my job is to get you back on topic and saying, Julie, what do you think about this
Exactly.
particular challenge? Okay, got it. That's a good point.
You
Something
know,
that I think.
I hope I'm not being too critical, but I kind of almost feel like at 43 episodes, reaching 52, that we need to be more disciplined and more professional. You know,
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. That's a fair comment.
thank you.
Okay, that's a fair. No, I think you're right. I think we're like, and I think what you're saying is that we need to focus on that, because if there's something more that you want to discuss, then take it offline or in the miscellaneous part, but don't use it during the topic because.
Exactly. You could just say this trigger blah 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 blah. Maybe it's a topic offline. So
Just mention it, yeah, mention it, and then don't discuss it. And then when I review it, I can then record something on that. Yeah.
because
Okay.
you're great.
That's good. That's a good suggestion. Thanks for that feedback.
You're great. I just really want to commend you that you are a natural teacher.
Yeah.
You're naturally good at organizing things. So you're going to be um, very successful if you stay focused, stay organized, because you have a natural talent of breaking things into really nice segments.
Yeah, it was interesting. My dad was saying, how much is Julie charging you for all the help she's giving you? Well, I said, well, right now I feel bad. I don't pay her anything. I said, as soon as I start making money, I'm going to start paying her for my coaching session.
Getting a lot back too, because we're friends.
I said, at some point when I start making money, I have to take care of Julie. Otherwise, you know what? Because for all the hard work she's, and I'll tell you one thing, I'm certainly open to that, because right now, as soon as I start monetizing this, what we're doing, and then I would like to really do that, have a 1 hour session where, you can kind of make me focus on what I'm doing. And I think you have a potential, if you're interested. This is something to keep an eye on. I know you got a lot of things that are floating up there. Yeah. But one thing is certain is, like, all the sessions we're having, they're all recorded. At some point, if you really want to get into like one, I mean, I don't know if you have that, if you maybe what one person you can do it, and maybe different people you may not want to. But if you really want to do get into a coaching type of a business, I think you got the making of being an excellent coach.
Thank you.
The question is, do you want to do that? That's the thing. Because I find that sometimes that can be very frustrating. But yeah. I think you have all the skill set to really become an excellent coach, and you can use me as an example as one of your clients,
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So like you have all the videos.
Let's talk about that. In fact, I'm working on this identity thing. I'll probably pick your mind later.
Keep that in mind in our document. Keep that in mind as a potential opportunity for Julie to go into that, because I think you really like to learn about what makes other people tick.
Yes.
And then you come up with all kinds of ideas for them, and you have a way of doing it, which I find, because I don't find this helpful with anybody else I talk to. So yes. I'm just giving you my personal, because I think I made a lot of progress, because like the book and all that, where by just having that conversation with you. And I thought that if I'm benefiting, of course, obviously, I don't want you to, I would like to monopolize your time as much as possible. But at the same time, I have to be fair to you that you have that skill that should be put to use where other people can also benefit from that too.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm getting a lot of that kind of feedback. So,
but like I said, you have the talent. Now you got to create a packaging around that.
Right, and maybe that is where you will help me more than you can imagine, because you're
right. So we need to figure out. So the package would include the one-on-one help that you're giving me, as I'm like one of your what do you call, testimonial, right? Testimonial, and you can even take clips from the segment. Like, here's the coaching that I do with him with his book, and here's how I'm helping him, almost like a life coach, right? You're like a life coach.
I'm a skills coach.
Huh?
A skill.
Yeah, but that word life gets used around like that. Yeah. This is the kind, because people want, because coaching is not just around particular skill, but a lot of times you're asking me to focus. If I was doing on speech, then it would be just speech focused, right? But a lot of times you're helping me with marketing, you're helping me with the book, you're helping me with like this show, all of that. That kind of, it's much more comprehensive. So I'm just saying that that's something you want to keep in mind and start thinking about it. And once my book is done, then you will have a proof case that you helped me get my book from start to finish, and all of these other things that you're doing with me. And you can use that to start getting more clients, and you can certainly use me as a reference, because I think you do have the skill. The question is if you enjoy doing this. That's the thing. So sometimes you enjoy doing it one-on-one when you know it's different, but then once you start taking on clients, then you're getting too deep into other people's lives, and that's the question. Now, I'm not saying that you have to get that deep into it, just having that conversation, because I'll tell you what the important part is, like having the learning buddy and all that, because I think you have learned a lot from just working with me. But I know that I have certain strength and you have certain strength. I don't think I have the strength where I can I coach people, but I don't have the patience, because I just realized it recently. I'm much more effective if I have to coach on one particular area like speech, but I can't coach them if they got other problems that are there, you know, where you can bring that out and get people talking about what's really preventing them from succeeding. So I just think that that you're at a different level than I am. I'm much more focused.
Would you agree with me that I can deliver difficult messages in a tough but loving and gentle way?
Well, yeah, I think the thing is that a coach is about results. And remember that one time you said that, like, I was like trying to add this, and you said, Jay, my job is to get your book, get the shit published or something like that, right? And that's what a coach is. That you don't want me to, if they want love, they got their family. Your job is to produce results. And
no, I'm saying that I push people, but in a very loving way. Like, I don't just push you, but you accept the fact that I push you. You gave me permission.
Yeah.
But also, you know that I'm doing it from a place that I care about you.
Yeah, because what you're going to tell me, other people are not.
And I'm telling you because it's for you. At least in my mind, it's because I want you to do better.
Well, that's why if I was, let's say, that's what I would have hired you, because at the end, if I'm not willing, here's the thing, if I'm hiring as a coach, I have to trust you about your process, right? If I'm not trusting your process, then you should basically tell me, Jay, you know what? I don't think I can be an effective coach for you, because you obviously I don't see that you're trusting my process. And if you cannot trust me for what I'm trying to do, then I'm not the right coach for you. You're going to have to find somebody else who's much more compatible to the way you like to work. And a lot of times, like, I've given you complete permission to tell me because I want to improve. Until you get that type of permission, you cannot be a good coach for me.
Okay.
So that's the first, like I said, if you do a consult with somebody, that's the first ground rules you got to establish. And it's kind of feel thing, right? That one of the things that I want you to tell me where you are, I have to tell you, like, what I'm going through, what's preventing me from succeeding, where my book is, what I'm doing, all these things that you're allowing me to talk, and you're jotting all these notes down, which you're very good at. And then you're looping it back to me. And that's making me think, like, yes. So, Jay, let me understand you. Here's what you said. Is this what you really want? Is this what you're really thinking, or you want to change it? So I think you do have that skill set. And the question is, if you want to take it and formalize it. That's the thing. That's where you are right now.
Okay. Well, that helps a lot, actually. So thank you.
Right. So I'm just saying that once you have the book, then the question is that, do you want to focus on coaching? And I can certainly, like I said, once I have my book out, I can certainly let people know that I use you as a coach.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
Okay. So next week at 10 o'clock. And I do have a segment. You know what? You asked me last week to do a segment on money and identity. Do you remember? I did that. I'd like to use that next week. But if you want to just do a whole review, then we don't have to do that. We can just do the review.
But I think the money and identity may be part of that too, right? Because we're trying to figure out that at some point, all the work we're doing has to somehow be validated by some sort of a measurement, right? And that whole, okay, it's up to you. Let's.
I sent it to you. Actually, what I did, I sent you 3 hacks.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you today.
I thought I saw it. When I was going in there, I think you were editing it at the same time, so I got out of it quickly.
Right. I'm always going to add them. I'm that kind of person.
I was seeing this scrolling, something was scrolling. I said, whoa, what's going on here? And for a while I got scared, but then I realized that you're sharing that document and I can see your editing live.
I can freeze a version for you.
No, that's okay. I'll take a, because there was a 3-minute part that was missing in there.
It's on there now.
Okay, I'll take a look at it then, okay?
It's on there now. I got 3 hacks. I want to use the second hack. The first hack is better, but my bra strap was showing, so I think we can use the second hack.
Okay.
I would like you to look at the third hack anyways, if you like. It's about...
Okay, so you already recorded these?
Yeah, it's all done. It's all set for next week.
Oh, okay, I'll take a look at it. Yeah, I saw the document. I didn't see the hacks.
The links are in that document now.
Oh, okay, then I'll take a look at it, okay?
And then if you want to use it, fine. If you want to push it back a week,
okay, let's do this. Let me take a look at it. I'll get back to you by over the weekend, okay?
You don't need to. You can just decide on Wednesday, unless there's a set. Because once
No, I just want to give you a heads up, so that way, because I have to go through the links.
The agenda.
I'll send you the agenda. Okay.
Very good.
All right, Julie, enjoy your weekend, and thanks a lot for everything you do. And now we'll make you the greatest coach in the world.
Oh my!
But you already are. The question is that other people should also benefit from.
You brand me. That's the greatest coach in the world.
Okay, take care. And everything is okay with your husband now, right?
Yeah, he's the reason why I switched Fridays, I may have told you, is we're doing drawing lessons on Mondays and Fridays.
Excellent.
And so I'm very appreciative of the fact that you don't mind.
Yeah. No. So what kind of drawing lesson is this? What kind of drawing or sketching and stuff you're going to be doing?
Yeah, drawing, sketching, either watercoloring or acrylics and stuff.
How long is the class?
I'll email you. I've done some coloring with a poem. I'll send you a couple of them I've done recently. One of them is with a quote, and one of them is with my own poem.
Right. Okay, yeah, let us see your work when you do that, okay?
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, Julie. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye. I want to blow you.
Bye.
Bye.